Good morning. I'm joined here today by Scott Bell, Division Chief, and the sex assault team, and the chief, along with his folks here. Chief Logan and I are inviting you here today because we're here to sound the alarm. We want to issue a stark warning to parents and teenagers about what's happening to your kids on social media. We have predators who are connecting with kids on social media. They're arranging to meet them in person, and then they're sexually assaulting them. This takes place in cars. It takes place in other places. Normally, growing up, parents might worry about the park down the street, or they might worry about a playground, and they watch their kids there. Well, now parents have to do the same thing on social media that they would do in a playground or a park. Chief?
Laura, good morning. The Honolulu Police Department has been investigating numerous incidents where adults are preying upon children by using social media, gaming sites, and often portraying themselves as teenagers when in fact they are adults and trying to gain the trust of the victim. Sadly, these activities lead to the exchange of information digitally online, sexual material, and even physical sexual assaults. In the last 4 months alone, there have been 12 such cases, which are now in various stages of investigation between the Honolulu Police Department and the prosecutor's office. And these juveniles range from the ages of 11 and 17 years old. Steve?
Okay, some of the cases involve men trolling young girls on social media like Instagram, befriending them, meeting them, getting them into a car, and assaulting them. It can happen in folks' houses and often plying them with alcohol or other drugs, often filming the rape, the sexual interaction, and then threatening them with publicizing on social media if they say anything to anyone. The teens are subject to this kind of extortion, and it puts them in a terrible situation. And you have to remember, each case that HPD finds out about and investigates means there are a bunch of other ones that we haven't heard about. So we're really trying to raise awareness. And we're talking cases every week now are coming into our office, and the sex assault team really raised our awareness of it, that we've got to try to figure this out and get parents to pay attention. So let me call up Deputy Prosecutor Isla Weiss.
Good morning. Other types of cases involve perpetrators reaching out to minors, particularly teenage boys, and enticing them to send images or videos of themselves in the nude or engaging in sexual acts. Alternatively, these perpetrators can ask the minor to engage in video calls in which the minor is in the nude or engaging in sexual acts. The perpetrator will then use these images, videos, or screenshots from these video calls to extort the minor, so that the images or videos are not going to be sent to their family and friends. These cases are occurring to minors here in Hawaii. The perpetrators could be located in Hawaii or as far as other countries where local law enforcement do not have any reach. There have been reports on the mainland of juvenile males committing suicide because they cannot come up with the money to pay these extortionists, or they are too afraid to tell their family or to ask for help.
Deputy Prosecutor Thalia Murphy.
Good morning. The social media platform allows predators to remain anonymous, and it also allows them wide access to many, many children. And we're also talking about middle-aged school children. If you're the parent of a middle-aged school child, you need to have a discussion with them about internet safety. The predators are communicating with the children. Sometimes they don't show their face or any identifying information whatsoever. They gain the child's trust by being empathetic and talk to me about the problems with your parent, things of that nature. They obtain identifying information about the child, which they later use against them. And they get the child to go with them to meet up. And they say things like, well, we're just going to talk. or they might even involve another friend of the child to recruit them and to recruit other children to meet up with the perpetrator. And when they meet up with them, it's over. The child is sexually assaulted. And we're dealing with the fallout of that now and trying to prevent other children from being victimized.
Thank you. All right, now, what can parents do? What can people do to try to stop this? Well, just like watching out for danger at a playground or a park or school or whatever, parents need to get involved in their kids' social media presence. And that includes know who they're communicating with on platforms, games. And I got to tell the parents, don't be shy about this. Your kids, they're under 18 years old. They have no right to be hiding their phones from you. They are going to be mad about this. You know, they are not going to like this, but they could be victimized today. They could be victimized tomorrow. So they're your kids. They're under your protection until they're 18. I urge you to get involved in what they're doing. Look at their phone, follow through with it, see if you can, get apps to help trace what they're doing, know where they're going and who they're meeting with in order to try to stop this. Because if you as their parent don't do this, who else is going to do this? Who else is going to protect your kids? They're counting on you to do this, whether they know it or not. Okay, Melody? I'm sorry, Chief.
More on what we can expect or what we're asking from all of you, not just the media but the parents, really is to know and have an honest conversation with your keiki, your teenagers, on what is going on, what they're doing online, and what their presence is, and the dangers of the things that are on the digital media platforms. People are not who they say they are. You don't know who these people are because you're only talking to them. They might have another image of who you think they might be. But unless you know them as keiki, as teenagers, unless you know them personally and you met with them, then you can converse with them online and have conversations. I would not share any material that's sexual in nature with even your friends on the internet. Once something goes out there on the internet, it's out there forever. You could try to erase it or delete it, but it's not going to happen. It's already been captured. So for your own safety, and parents, really, you need to understand if your loved ones are behaving in a manner that's different from what you normally think, then take a look and ask questions about what they're doing online, seeing if something has happened. And if it has, let's notify the Honolulu Police Department and other agencies to get this out as quickly as possible so that we can investigate, find the perpetrators, and then hopefully provide the justice that's necessary and all of that. But parents, we need your help. For the teenagers and the juveniles, we really need your help to not go into this behavior, be mature enough on the internet to use it appropriately and the way it was designed.
This is Deputy Prosecutor Melody Coe.
It's so important for parents to warn their children about internet safety. First of all, parents should make sure that their children keep their accounts private. Tell them not to check into any locations or share their locations. That way, perpetrators do not know where the children are. Furthermore, parents should really advocate and advise their children to keep their friends' following hidden. Another thing is that parents should only have their children follow people that they know in real life. Tell them to decline friend requests from strangers. That way, perpetrators do not have access to your children. It's important that the children know that once something is posted on the internet, on social media, it will be there forever. Even though you delete it, it has been posted on the internet. Again, these are all things that you as parents can do to protect the keiki and the children of our community. Thank you.
Chief, anything from your guys that I'd like to say? Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'd be happy to have any questions, and we'll try to answer them.
What kind of cases and charges are you hoping to bring in these types of incidents?
Talia, can I ask you to up at the mic?
Well, of course, it depends on the facts of the case. And does a case involve something like sextortion, or does it involve full-on sexual assault? And we would charge sex assault in the first degree for a child under the age of 14. Also for children who are 14 and 15 years of age where the perpetrator is more than 5 years older than the child.
And as a Class A felony, that's 20 years in prison. Anybody else?
How difficult, can you just expand a little bit, how difficult is it to prosecute these types of cases? What kind of evidence do you need? What track record we've seen?
Okay. Isla, you want to handle that one?
I would say in terms of prosecution, again, it depends upon the type of charges. When we're thinking about the conduct, is it ranging from an actual in-person meetup, or is it something that was conducted solely online? And that's really when we rely upon our partnership with our law enforcement partners, engaging in the use of search warrants, interviews of any potential witnesses, and to gain both evidence from live people, as well as actual documentation. As we know, our jurors love to see both types of evidence, and once we can gather those different types, we believe we can build a strong case to bring all possible charges against these type of perpetrators who may be committing anything from sexual assault in the first degree to violation of privacy in the first degree to extortion in first, second, or third degree. But again, I think we're committed with the Honolulu Police Department to explore all possible charges so that we can explore all types of felonies that these suspects may have committed.
Are they convicted? Like, do they lead to?
Depending upon, whether these are suspects that committed it within our jurisdiction, yes, it has led to convictions from the range of sexual assault offenses, as well as to convictions for offenses like violation of privacy in the first degree. So it really, again, as Ms. Murphy indicated, it's going to be factually dependent. And again, whether it's something that can be prosecuted at the state level or federal level, or in fact, both.
The FBI has called for the passage of a federal sextortion law. I mean, there's nothing at the state level would enhance penalties of obviously not this session, but in future sessions be something that that you guys want out of lawmakers? Like a specific statute for sextortion.
You want to answer that, Thalia? Or
Okay. I think that would be something we would be interested in pursuing. I think, already Hawaii is great in terms of our violation of privacy in the first degree statute. We've already incorporated the fact that the use of generated images is something that we can prosecute. And again, we'd like to keep the tie between the extortion and it being something of a sexual nature, because we're really looking to have these people placed on the sex offender registry, because this is not just a financial type of extortion. It's deeply tied to something that's insidious. It is private for this individual, and because it's coming from this sexual nature, having something that's labeled sextortion rather than just extortion, for example, in the first degree, it's not really giving an insight to the general public about what kind of crime this individual has committed.
anybody else?
Seems like you guys are being proactive about this before it gets really out of hand. Talk about why.
Well, it's important because, our children are important to our community, and these type of offenses, suffering through this type of trauma affects their ability to trust in their peers, other adults, and that lasts with them throughout their entire lives. So if we can make sure that our keiki are protected, that they aren't going to suffer these types of trauma, that they can have trust in the people around them, that's building a good community for all of us to live in. No one wants to see children be hurt or suffer in silence. So the more that we can bring this to light, bring it to parents' attention, bring it to other kids' attention, to hopefully they don't have to suffer or worry about pictures being on the internet forever for them, that benefits all of us.
So referring to these types of investigations and crimes, they are very complex investigations. They involve numerous search warrants, victim interviews. The victims they're emotional, they're traumatized. We have to get, if we can, video surveillance, physical evidence in these crimes. And then, of course, work with the prosecutor's office to eventually convict these offenders. We would encourage parents to have a real presence in their children's digital lives. If they suspect that some sort of extortion or crime has occurred involving this, don't destroy the evidence. Preserve the evidence, report it, and then turn it over as soon as possible. Thank you.
I recently returned from a Major City Chiefs Association meeting where 70 U.S. And several Canadian police chiefs got together, and this was a topic of conversation. So it's not just here in Hawaii, it's across the nation and probably worldwide. And so how do we as a law enforcement organization, working with our prosecution team and our federal and state partners, help curb this and exactly what your question leads to? How do we stop this before it gets any worse? There are tens of thousands of cases across the United States, and some of those have led to, unfortunately, our keiki ending their own lives because of what they put online. And that's just, we can't tolerate that, and we need to help them. We need to help them. Parents need to get out and get involved with what their keiki are doing and make sure that they can help. And sometimes people make mistakes by putting things online. But now, how do we work with them to avoid the end result of a loss of life? But more importantly, how do we help them psychologically, mentally through a judicial system that's going to end up with hopefully justice at the end if there is enough facts and circumstances to convict, and then put people in jail where they belong, because this type of crime, preying on juveniles, younger people, is very serious. And as an adult, trying to do that to juveniles is just unacceptable in our society. Thank you.
In the cases that you've been seeing, is there kind of a common thread through them? Are the juveniles active on social media? Are they, I just want to get a sense for like the activity level, because there are kids that are really active and then there are others that are just kind of like observe. So for parents who don't have really kind of a sense for what their kids are doing.
Yeah, I'll ask Sergeant Wagner to answer some of that question. But what I've seen so far is you have young juveniles that are on dating websites. That's inappropriate for our keiki to be on those kinds of sites. And then others are, the normal, the Instagrams, the Snapchats, and other things. Those are social media sites where they're getting into chat rooms where people are, the anonymity factor is huge. And so some are more active than others, but sorry, Mike.
So when you're talking about activity level of the children online, it's varying degrees of input. You're talking about some of the children kind of sitting back and watching, and then other children very engaged. It is varying degrees. We've seen children from the whole range. And some of that too is, a small amount of followers on some platforms and then large amount of followers. They go for all sorts of interaction. And it comes to how they can gain the trust, I think, of these kids, and being able to make themselves trustworthy to these children, and then being able to bait them and get them alone to commit these offences. So if there were red flags that you want parents to know, what would they be? I think particularly children becoming more withdrawn, after these sorts of interactions. A lot of it's going to come up with post the activity happening. Children becoming more withdrawn, maybe starting to talk about hurting themselves. Those sorts of things are definitely going to be red flags.
add one additional thing that if you're asking about trends, in terms of their usage, for example, on Instagram, in their profile, they may put their school, so it may be a well-known high school, and then their graduation year, or they may put their birth year. And so those might also be some ways that these minors are targeted because they're easily identifying themselves as teenagers of a certain age.
And I think we realize the challenge on this because it seems like every kid has a phone. They are on it much of the day. They're used to communicating. They're used to meeting up that way. And this may seem like it's just another one of those encounters. And before they know it, they're taken advantage of. And it's not this is a lot of these are sex assault in the first degree cases, 20 years in prison. So these are really serious things, but it's really going to be hard because parents are used to seeing their kids on the phone. But like was said, let's urge the parents to try to get into their kids' business on this and see who they're talking to and what they're doing. And the kids won't like it, but the parents are the only ones who can save them. So, okay, thank you all for coming today.